looking a little pale. Are you feeling all right? I guess I'm just tired. Why not go join Asgore in the garden for a little bit? Some outdoor sun might make you feel better. Do you have any chocolate? I'd like that. Frisk, I thought you did not really care for chocolate. It just sounds good to me right now. Well, I do not have any in the house now, but I will pick some up when I go shopping tomorrow. Does that sound good? Fine. Frisk, I want to make sure you are feeling completely well again before you resume school and work. You still seem troubled. Is something bothering you? Something has been bothering me. There's something I think you should know about Flowey. And what is that? Flowey was Asriel, your son. But how? Do you know? He told me so. He didn't want you to know, but I guess now I want to know how you really feel about me, about him. If you'd ever replace me, like you did the other kids.
What?
I have to go.
That's not Frick. That's Frick.
I don't understand. Gaster isn't anywhere. We're here now, before the core implosion.
And how could Sans not even remember he exists?
And they'll start the experiment any moment. The core will break everything up into pieces.
And we're out of time.
Tra-la-la, out of space too.
Wait, you can understand us?
Monster, human, flower. Together at last. I knew you'd come.
How can you tell? How did you know we would?
Tra-la-la. Can you hear the sound of the sea from here?
Please tell us. How do you know all this?
You want the veil lifted on my thoughts. That is fair.
Huh?
Who am I? It doesn't matter much anymore. I remember you. I saw you come out of the lab once. But your face was different going in.
You were the first test subject for the time experiments.
I love to ride in my boat now. The space between places is short for me, and that makes the time short as well.
If you have this control over time and space, can you save and reset too?
That's a curse saved for a lucky few. I did not pass such tests, little dog.
We've been looking all over the underground, but we can't find him. Do you know where Dr. Gaster is?
Beware the man who speaks in hands. The sounds from the other world are not always so pleasant.
Sounds from the other world?
Tra-la-la, the sound of the waves, a roaring fire, the cries of the damned, words yet to be spoken, a whispering flower.
Listen, we can't go home empty-handed. How can we be in the past before the core accident, but he's not here?
Out of time, out of space. That is the man who speaks in hands. The core will open all times, and now he is in none.
You mean he doesn't exist in any point in time anymore? Even now? Before the accident?
3 minds are better than one. You are correct.
But that can't be true. A person can't just be erased from all of time and space and leave no impact at all. The fact that we're here proves that. You remembering him proves it.
Tra-la-la. If you truly wish to find him, then outside time and outside space is where you must go.
Outside of time and space?
A word of caution, if you will consider. A person hates most in others that which they hate most in themselves. Are you prepared to face the man from the other world? And in doing so, to face your yourselves.
Yes.
Then you'd best get going. I would offer a ride, but I suspect your paws will carry you there even quicker than my boat. What's happening?
They're starting up the machine!
Okay, we're gonna go. Thank you for helping us.
I'll be seeing you. La la la. Where are we going?
Back to the time machine. We've got to go outside time and space. That's the only place in time where we can.
We're going into the ribbon time and space!
If that's where Gaster is, then it's the only possible way to reach him.
And what if we get lost outside of time and space too?
I like Powers, remember? As long as I can load my save file, we can escape back to the present.
That's assuming you can load from outside the timeline.
We're not going to get a second chance at this, guys. We can't save here. We can't reset. If we miss our only window, we fail our mission, and this was all for nothing.
Yeah, fine. Now or never.
Let's go!
You crazy canine! You're supposed to flee the other way! We can't control it! It's overloading!
I don't understand. This wasn't supposed to happen. Why am I here like this? Mom, get out of here. I don't want you to get hurt. Wait, no! Time to wake up and smell the pain. Though it's still a little shaky.
Where are we?
So, this is outside time and space?
Frisk, please tell me you can still load your save file.
Okay, I can still reach my safe, but
But what?
there's something off here. It feels like the time and space on my save file are all out of place. I don't know if it's where we are, or something else.
Are we stuck?
No, I can still load. I'm not sure what'll happen when I do.
Okay, that just means this really is our one shot. When we leave here, we're done for good.
So we find a way to bring Gaster back into the timeline now, or he's really lost forever.
So, where is he?
Huh? Hey, wait! Gaster, don't you vanish on us! We'll track that jerk down if it's...
What happened?
Where are we now?
Cheaters, sneaks, hackers all along. Now, you're where you belong.
It's Brandy! No, it's kidding.
Sans stopped by Toriel's house again, as he had been doing almost hourly now. He just had to keep checking that everyone was still safe. He knew Papyrus, at least, was at his work for a few more hours. The others, however, well, that's what he was here for. Sans was already nervous when he knocked on the door and didn't receive an answer. Still, that didn't stop him from walking in anyway, as he sometimes did. He stepped into the house and was greeted with another eerie quiet. At least until Alphys spotted him from the hall and came running up, an empty dog food bowl in hand. She looked even more anxious and sweaty than normal.
Sans, I'm glad you're here. I need to talk to someone.
Sans was immediately on edge.
What's happening?
I was just over here to feed Andogeny, to try to get them calmer, you know? But something's going on with Toriel, and I don't know what.
Sans closed the door behind him and leaned in a little closer. He suddenly hoped that no one else was listening in on Alphys.
Something going on?
Alphys gripped the empty dog food bowl closer to her.
Frisk, I guess, said something to Toriel. It made her really upset, and Asgore got it out of her, and he was a mess, and he just left. They were arguing about something, and he just ran up and left Flowey and all his equipment outside, and now Toriel hasn't left her room, and I think she's crying, and I just don't know what to do.
Truth be told, Sans didn't know what to do about that either. He stayed silent, trying to figure out what Frisk could have done. But Alphys continued on.
Sans, I think you might be right about Frisk. They've just been acting strange, and I hate saying this, but they promised me they wouldn't hurt Andogeny. I don't think that Frisk would have even come back without Andogeny's soul.
Alphys's voice dropped into a hushed, frightened tone.
What if you're right, and it's not really Frisk?
Sans just about collapsed into an exhausted pile of bones at having someone in the house finally believe him.
That's what I've been saying. It's not them.
Alphys's eyes darted about, and her claws started putting scratches into the dog food bowl.
But if it's not Frisk, who is it?
To this, Sans had no answers. His own knowledge was already severely limited to just what he felt could happen, rather than what did happen. At least what happened in the timeline they were in now. And considering his previous encounters, he didn't think he'd ever get a solid answer out of the Frisk imposter. But there was at least one thing he knew about.
I don't know. All I know is that when they show up, everything goes wrong.
Sans suddenly felt very heavy, and he looked towards the floor.
Everything goes wrong for everyone, and I become powerless to stop it.
Alphys looked too desperate to be entertaining Sans's refusal to act right now.
There's gotta be something we can do.
Like what? I don't think Toriel's in a state to hear this from me again right now.
Sans.
Both Alphys and Sans nearly jumped out of their skin and bones respectively at a new voice. The two turned and saw Toriel approaching them from the stairwell. She looked bedraggled and exhausted, her fur unkempt and her eyes tired. She seemed to be looking through the two of them, and for a moment, Sans wondered if she actually was aware they were there or not. He and Alphys exchanged a panicked look, and neither of them responded for a moment.
We were...
But Toriel didn't need to wait for a reply from them.
It is about Frisk, is it not? It is not really them. It seems more like...
Toriel trailed off, her breath catching in her throat. She suddenly seemed unsteady on her feet, and she put a paw against the nearby wall to try and keep herself upright. It didn't seem to last long before she slid back down to the floor, her head in her paws.
I do not understand. I do not understand. Why is this happening? Why? Every time do they keep slipping through my fingers?
Toriel choked back a sob.
I thought we were safe, that we were free. I just want Frisk back. I just want my child back. I do not want to do this again.
Sans and Alphys stared at each other with equal looks of terror. Both were used to Toriel being in charge, of reassuring them all when things went wrong. And now Sans knew they were both wondering, How were they supposed to reassure the former queen when she was practically having a breakdown? Alphys was the first to speak up, although quietly so, as she tried to build on the encouragement that Undyne had given her.
Toriel, it's not your fault.
That just seemed to make Toriel sob even harder. Alphys made a few panicked motions between herself and Toriel, eyes locked on Sans. Sans was starting to feel pretty anxious himself, but tried to think of some way they could handle this. He mimed using a phone with one hand to Alphys.
Get Undyne and Peps over here,
he told her under his breath. Whatever they could do to try and help Toriel, he had a feeling that they would need the boundless optimism of those two more than ever. As for himself, Sans swallowed and moved over to try and help Toriel up. It took her a little while, but she finally accepted his hand, and he was able to get her back on her feet, while he still supported much of her weight by himself.
We're gonna get this worked out. Just, you gotta hang in there while we figure out what to do, okay?
Toriel didn't respond, but just nodded as Sans led her into the living room. There was only one thing he could think of to do in a crisis of this sort, and that was to tell jokes.
So, I got some new knock-knock jokes off the internet. Want to hear them?
Toriel nodded again and gave a quiet and strained
Yes.
Meanwhile, Alphys made her way to the kitchen and pulled out her cell phone. She barely managed to dial the right number, her claws were shaking so much. Finally, however, she got the number down and heard the line pick up.
Papyrus, it's Alphys. I know you're at work, but we really need your help.
Ooh, that's crazy.